Hello people, and welcome to a Q&A video. I asked all of you, or most of you I guess, on my Instagram to ask me some questions to do this video. I feel like because it's October and it's about to start the whole string of holiday seasons and holidays and stuff, that it's customization season, because those are pretty much the questions that I've been getting a lot of, and people are trying to get gifts together, so I guess it makes sense. I'm here on my laptop and I also have some questions written down because you guys let me have it. So let's get going. I wrote down the ones that people DM'd me on Instagram. Devastated Doll asks, how many dolls do I have? Displayed, there are 94 dolls displayed, not including Conga. I didn't count my Conga dolls that are like further back on this shelf here. I've got Barbies and other dolls in these drawers, dolls on the top of the closet, and I've also got dolls on the way. How long have you been collecting? Like I discussed in another video, I think I would say that I've been collecting since I was about 15 years old, and I'm now 27. 12 years. That's right, right? Yeah, I'm bad at math. Okay, this question I thought was really interesting. Favorite time to repaint, day or night? It's kind of a mixture of both, because I like to repaint in the dead of the night. So like 3 a.m. Or really, really early in the morning, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. if I'm up. I'm usually not up. So I guess I would say in the dead of the night, like 3 a.m. type situation. Because it's super quiet. And I find that I can center my mind easier. And I don't have to worry about being distracted by anything. Favorite dolls to repaint? This is kind of a complicated question. Because I feel like if... it depends on the doll. I like repainting Barbies and stuff because it's fast, it's instant gratification. I could repaint a Barbie in like an hour. Or any fashion doll that's really small, I can paint them and be happy with them in like an hour. And there's less detail to make them detailed. With Barbie and dolls that are smaller, less is more, and more really is just more. But if I were to choose a doll that would be my favorite, it probably would be a doll with a bigger head, or a doll that's on a doll that's face is bigger, because then I can make really big eyes and add lots of light reflection and stuff, and that's kind of like what I like. So maybe it's really hard to pinpoint a single doll. If your dolls could only have one accessory, like a face up or shoes or a hat or something, what would it be? Maybe a hat? Yeah, because I could, depending on the doll, I don't need it to have a face up right away. As a matter of fact, I have one doll that just won't accept a face up, but I still really like him. Ian2353 asked, imagine you've been gifted unlimited dolly funds, but you can only buy one doll. What doll makes you buy the buy now? What doll makes you hit the buy now button? Any enchanted doll. Literally any of them. Enchanted dolls. Oh my god, I love her work. Zombie Dice asked, how long have I been doing face ups, and which one is my all-time favorite? Okay, well, I've been doing face ups 5 ever, not even 4 ever, 5 ever. At least it feels that way. I guess I could start counting the years. How long have I been doing face ups commission-wise, maybe? Yeah, I've only been doing commissions publicly and accepting commissions for like 3 years. But I've been doing the work for far longer than that, obviously, you know. My favorite repaint, or favorite work, I guess I could say, I actually have a top 5. And most of them I don't have anymore. My all-time favorite would probably be a Frankenstein. I don't even know if you call her Frankenstein. Frankie. A Monster High Frankie repaint. It was one of the freakishly tall Frankies. And I painted roses on her face. I'm sure you guys have seen her. She was one of my favorite, and I held on to her for a very long time. And she actually went to my friend Shannon, so I'm actually really happy Shannon got her, or I think Shannon's sister got her. My second one was also one of the taller Monster High dolls, and it was Galliope. I had been saying Gulupe for the longest fucking time, and nobody corrected me. Anyway, it was Galliope, and it wasn't mine. It was actually my friend Anika's, and I thought hers was just so pretty when I finished her. The third one would be also not my doll. It's crazy. Not my doll. It was a repaint. One of the first repaints I did for someone else, Bex, on Flickr. She had me repaint her Tonner guy, and he was a dwarf prince, and I really enjoyed his backstory a lot, so I enjoyed painting him. I had a Leak World, not Michaela. I did have a Leak World Michaela, but no, I'm trying to think of the name of the sculpts. I can't remember the name of her sculpts, but I blushed her whole body and I put strawberries on her hips, and I just thought she was so cute. She went to my friend Wanda. Wanda purchased her. And my last, but certainly not least, has actually been a recent work of mine. I got to work with someone else's Orange Tea doll, Paulette, and working with her doll has kind of given me courage to erase the company face up and work on my own. Because I didn't, for whatever reason, I had a block about erasing the company face up. I just felt like if I erased the company face up, then maybe she wouldn't be as epic to me anymore, and I didn't want that to happen under any circumstances. But now, after seeing the work that I've done on the doll and being confident that I'll still be able to do the sculpt justice, because it's a very different sculpt, I'm excited. And I can't wait to start on my own when she gets hers back. So those were the questions that were sent to me in the DMs. And now I'm going to start reading the questions that you guys left under the post on Instagram. All Collector on Instagram asked, do you ever think about giving up the hobby? No. And I'm assuming hobby, you're talking about the BJD community. I don't ever see myself not collecting ball jointed dolls or not collecting dolls in general, but have I ever thought about just not dealing with the community that comes with BJDs? Definitely. Mimi Plush Collector asks, are there dolls, or was there a particular that creeped you out? And do you believe in haunted dolls or ghosts in general? It's hard for a doll to creep me out per se. Lately, back when I was a kid, there were lots of dolls actually that creeped me out. As a matter of fact, Blythe was one of those dolls that creeped me the fuck out as a kid. And I think that's got a lot to do with not understanding a doll's charm, being inexperienced and just being a dumb kid. I haven't been creeped out by a doll in such a long time. Like it's been a minute. I've seen creepy dolls, but seeing creepy dolls and recognizing that they are creepy doesn't creep me out. So, do I believe in haunted dolls? Yes and no. Yes, because I feel like, okay, the non-science science behind it makes sense. No, because I've never had any incidents, thankfully. And do I believe in like ghosts and stuff in general? Spirits and ghosts and stuff, maybe. But that's I don't want to offend anybody, but that's probably for me growing up Christian. Like, for whatever reason, growing up Christian had me scared of every fucking thing. So Cecil's Void on Instagram asks, I'd love to hear how you got into the hobby or memories of your first dolls. Okay. I got into the hobby actually through seeing a BJD in person, like in 2008 or something like that, like way back. Or maybe it was, no, because I believe I got my first doll in 2008. So I seen a doll and I was like, what is that? And why is it so realistic looking? And I want one. And they explained to me that it was a BJD made of resin. They did the whole BJD thing. And it was a Volks doll. So one of the first companies that I was introduced to was Volks. Because at that point I was thinking that Volks was the only brand, the only company. And that was because I was applying my knowledge of like Barbie and Tonner and stuff to BJDs. Like, there's only one Barbie doll and one company that makes Barbie doll, but there are multiple companies that make fashion dolls. And I was applying that this is a BJD, that's the name of these dolls, and Volks is the only company that makes it. But I was pleasantly surprised after, diving deeper. But my first doll was a YOSD from Volks, and I can't remember the sculpt name because it was like numbers and letters. I do remember I had to do a lot to get her though. I had to do a lot of chores and it was hard getting her. I do remember that. And that doll was really sweet to me, but I ruined that doll. And I mean, I don't regret ruining the doll, because through ruining the doll is one of the reasons why I now know what not to do to a resin doll. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it was a growing period, because there was a time. This kind of reminds me of Andrea Dolls Ahoy everywhere. She kind of had a moment where she didn't think she was into BJDs, because BJDs require kind of like a certain aesthetic to really look really pleasing, and to kind of the aesthetic and market of BJDs requires a level of detail, and there's a look to BJDs that no other doll really has. I mean, every doll niche has a thing. And I think I kind of went through that because I kept wanting to apply my knowledge that I had with Barbie and other fashion dolls to BJD, and it just wasn't working for me. It really wasn't working for me, and it was frustrating. But after getting rid of that doll and spending some time without BJDs for I think like maybe a year or something, I got another doll, and it was so much better. So that's how I got into the hobby. And diving deeper, learning about Unoa, that was like the second company I learned about, then Lutz and all of that. Yeah. I think the most shocking thing about getting into the BJD thing was the price. I mean, I wasn't expecting them to be cheap because I'd already understood that collector's dolls cost more. But seeing that they was like $300 and $600 was not fun. It wasn't. Barbie.travels on Instagram actually posed a really good question, and it actually had me worried for like a good solid minute at work last night. She asked, how are you going to handle dolls and toys videos on YouTube being banned in 72 days and 9 hours and 48 minutes from now.
What?
She had a whole, like, time, and I was freaking out, because for a minute, I was like, wait a fucking minute. I even, like, I called my friend Summer last night while I was on break, and I was just like, what the fuck about this toy ban and doll ban is happening? Okay, so I found out the real Lolo. Somebody actually provided some information, and I read an article. They're not going to be banning doll and toy videos. They're going to be demonetizing those. It was just hella confusing. But to answer her question, because I do want to answer everyone's question, what would I be doing if there were no more YouTube, essentially? I think I'd probably continue making videos, but put it on the blog. Yeah, I'd probably just start a blog, put it on there. Maybe I'd go back to Tumblr. I haven't been on Tumblr because I feel like the BJD hobby on Tumblr is toxic. But the doll hobby itself is fine. But the BJD sector of Tumblr is toxic. In my opinion. I'm not hating, I'm just saying, like, I doll you. Oh, that's cute. Questions about repainting. Could you clarify for me how you apply the sealant? For example, when people say they apply 3 layers of sealant, do you spray the face, let it dry, and repeat 2 more times? Yes! What you do. This is Mr. Super Clear. I use Mr. Super Clear a lot lately. If you feel like you're going to spray really heavily and you don't want to spray very heavily, especially not your first, second, or third coats, go back further. The further away you are from the doll, so let's say you're about here and you're spraying like this, slowly and gently. When you spray it, after you finish spraying it, give it a wave and let it completely dry. For Mr. Super Clear, I would wait anywhere from 15 minutes to 25-30 minutes depending on the project. So if you have a doll that's a bit bigger, let's say like you have an animator doll, on dolls that are bigger, you can get ever so slightly closer. So like this, on dolls that are bigger. And when you spray, don't spray directly in the doll's face. Spray away from the doll and then bring it over, like so. That way you get a nice even coat and it'll dry adequately. It's good to count yourself out. If you do 1, 2, 3, and then do your wave, and then let dry for 10-15 minutes, you shouldn't have any problem. Now, you don't need to spray or coat your doll 3 times before you start working. You could do that first spray over, that 1, 2, 3, wave, and then let dry. You could do that one spray, and that's adequate enough where your doll won't get stained underneath the sealant, because that first spray is for a few things. It's to protect the doll just in case you do want to wipe it. You don't want to stain somebody else's work or a really expensive doll. And it's also to give your base a really nice tooth so sealants adhere and using watercolor pencils won't be a pain in the ass. So you want to get tooth and you want to protect the doll. After you get going and you start building stuff up, that's when you can add your other layers. But I just want to clarify, you don't need to seal your doll 3 times before you start. That's overkill. You're wasting your product. I hope that helped. I really hope that helped. Amy Peculiar on Instagram, Amy_Peculiar on Instagram, asked me, who's the doll that got away or that you miss bringing home? I don't think I have that, because I'm sitting here, I know, okay, I've clearly pouted or been kind of upset or feeling a type of way about a doll that I had the chance to purchase but then couldn't, or had the chance to purchase but got bidded out on eBay, which happens. That has definitely happened, but is there a doll that got away? Meaning I'm like sitting here thinking, man, I wish I had purchased that doll, or, you know. I don't think I have one. I really don't. I do kind of have a doll that I sold, that I had in my possession and wish I hadn't have sold. I had a werepup, and I no longer have a werepup. I sold him. I wish I hadn't have sold him. I really enjoyed the werepup, but I felt emotions had attached itself to Little Pork Chop, and I couldn't really enjoy him. Yeah. Ichigo on Instagram asks, what inspires you when giving a doll a new face up? What inspires you when developing a character for your doll? Probably the doll itself. Yeah, like it's probably a really unsatisfying answer, isn't it? Yeah, that's probably really unsatisfying, but for the most part, the doll itself, because I'm a doll person, there are lots of doll people that get inspirations from fashion and things in their actual life, and those things inspire me as well. But for the most part, if I have a doll and I'm working with it, especially if it's mine, I am already inspired by said doll, so I just kind of interpret the doll in my own world. Lady Basia, it's probably Basia, ask, if you had your dream collection, what would it consist of? My dream collection would consist of really hard to find dolls from around the world, really expensive dolls from around the world, and my collection as it is right now is probably what it would be. If I had to dream up a collection, it would be what my collection is now, but bigger and in a bigger space. That's about it. I think my collection is my dream collection right now. I work very hard for my shit. Nerdy Doll Girl asks, if you could make a doll, and what would it look like? I love that you asked this question. Did somebody tell you something? Did somebody whisper something to you? Because I am planning and designing my own doll. And I can't say he or she at this point, because I think my doll is probably going to be non-binary. And I want to do that because it's a fucking doll. See that? You can't impose gender normalities and social bullshit on plastic. We all like to do it, but it's a doll. So I'm working on it, him, her, them, they, all that. Right now, I will say I don't want to show anybody my sketches because I really am personal about it. I think maybe a few people have seen them, but I've changed them since then. I will say this though. They will be plus sized, and they will probably not be resin. I don't want to work in the resin world. I'm aware recasts exist, and I know if you're good at what you do, you will be copied, but I don't want to deal with the piracy in the resin community. Now, I'm not being a dick, and I'm still as tolerant as I've always been before. I'm not saying that, oh my god, if you collect recasts, you're a terrible person. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I'm an artist, and I'm aware of the market, and you choose your battles. And I will say that I want to work with PVC. I love the feel and the world that is PVC dolls. I really do. So that's the route I'm going. They will probably be getting their first printing next year. I'm working. You'll see. You'll see. I don't want to show you guys shit until I get to a place where I'm comfortable to share it. Even if I know that I'm going to be editing it, I still need to be to a place where I can say, okay, this is essentially what they're going to be, and then people can just follow the journey. But I need to get myself to the journey start. I'm still very much at the beginning. Ichigo again asks, what's a doll you've always wanted but can't get because too expensive or too hard to find? Any enchanted doll. My username does not exist as who taught you to crochet? What was the first crocheted item you've made? And what was the first crocheted item you've made for a doll? I love this question. This hat my mom made for me, and I added the pom-pom and ribbing much later. This hat is special because this is the same yarn I made my very first hat out of. And that hat was actually for a doll. And I still have it. Oh, this is the first hat thing that I ever crocheted. I've since added a little pom-pom, but think this is what it was without a pom-pom. It still doesn't have any ribbing. I probably should go in and add ribbing because I like ribbing. But this is the very first thing I've ever crocheted. Isn't it cute? And my mom showed me how to do single crochet and double crochet using this yarn, and she made me that hat that I just showed you guys. So I still have them both. They're special. This is the start of like an era, I guess. No, start of a craft, because I love crocheting now, and I've got like this weird but understandable obsession with yarn. I fucking love yarn so much. And that's all the questions, I think. Let me see. Yep, that is all the questions. If I missed any of the questions, just get mad with me and send me a DM. I'm sorry. And I'll see you guys in my... Really? I'm trying to end a video and the police need to fly by. Rude. You see what I'm saying? I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, y'all.